Welcome back to the podcast, the Growth Hacking Culture Podcast. Today, we are tackling one of the most urgent and costly problems facing every business in the world, the leadership crisis fueled by burnout, disengagement, and relentless culture of hustle. We all know the
Mhm.
mantra work harder, push through, sacrifice sleep. Oh, I remember one of my famous bosses telling me that. But the numbers show that this grinded out model isn't just exhausting, it's financially ruinous. Consider
Yeah.
this employee disengagement. Globally, only about 21% of employees are truly engaged at work. This massive wave of disengagement or quiet quitting is estimated to be at around $9 trillion in lost productivity. There is the cost of burnout. There are 63 more people likely to take a sick day. The annual healthcare spend alone on workplace burnout is estimated to be over 125 billion in the US. The truth is, the leader who is running on fumes, living with fear and demanding relentless hustle is not a high impact leader. They are a liability. Today, we are
Mm.
flipping that script. We are moving beyond the myth of the endless grinding leader and asking a high stakes question. What is the true, measurable return on investment of a leader who is genuinely resilient, human, and purpose driven? Our guest today is Hanna Bauer, who is the author of the powerful book, Hustle with the Heart 52 Mini Shifts to Maximize Your Impact. Hanna is here to show us how the key to sustainable, profitable, high impact leadership lies not in pushing harder, but in making intentional, resilient mini shifts. Hanna, it is a pleasure to have you in the show. Really wonderful, Hanna.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for having me, Ivan. And I love everything that you said. You're absolutely right. My goodness, how powerful that you talked about it really become the leader that is supposed to be impactful is not impactful, becomes a liability. And my goodness, isn't that a picture? So thank you for making this space for us to be able to have this very important conversation and just excited to be here with you.
And I got impressed because what you have done with your book is quite impressive because it is about giving you the small little vitamins or pills that you can activate without overthinking. Like I don't need to have like 1 month to in order to practice something. It's just right there in action. And I love everything that is related to behavioral science. It's just about actionability. And
Yeah.
I have a question about your book, Hannah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So your book is titled Hustle with a Heart.
Mhm.
Before we dive into the ROI, how do you define this resilient leadership? And how does it relate to leading with heart?
With heart. I love it. Well, one is first understanding what resilience is, right? I mean, a lot of times we say, like, hey, we want a resilient culture, we want resilient people, and all these things. And then understanding that, well, resilience is not something that you just like, hey, I'm going to activate resilience. Resilience is something that is built. And honestly, resilience is an outcome of this, all of these actions, habits, culture, really, and even for, I mean, for a person, their own habits. Their resilience is going to be basically that margin, right? That's going to be that has been built so that when those times come, hey, that's there, that's holding it, that's going to help to bounce back. So with the heart aspect, for me, that was the value space, right? I mean, you talk about the heart of an organization being the people for internally for in an individual, the heart of the person. Well, it's your values, it's how you live life, how you enjoy it, how you find that fulfillment, right? So heart really is an acronym for hope, empowerment, accountability, results, and trust. And this is those five have been a consistent values-based leadership that I've observed from great leaders across the world, people that I've been working with, but also it came from my own experience as I was overcoming from a kid terminal diagnosis with heart disease. So that's where the initial part came, and then the as far as the resilience, well, going through a diagnosis, I had to build resilience without really even knowing I was building resilience. I could tell you that it was in the overcoming. I learned very painfully the cost of failure when things and either because it was the drugs, the pharmaceutical things that were needed to be used, the interventions, the operations, when all of these things didn't work and there was really not a clear pathway of like, hey, well, we're going to do this next and we're going to get this. There was not that. I had to develop, and I realized that I was developing that because the professional team, the people in front of me, my parents, all of these people were building that in themselves, and they would help me build it, realizing also that resilience is not just something that you build on your own. It really is built, is nurtured also in the environments that you're in.
Mm. But can you have resilience alone, or do you need to prepare, like you mentioned, like a network of people that are going to be supportive when shit happens?
Oh, my 100, I mean, think about a bridge, right? I mean, like each one is a very strong steel, but put together, you talk about resilience. I mean, look at the structures, yeah, the element alone on its own is very powerful, but
Mm,
not nearly as powerful or being able to do what it can do to sustain uh, if it's not together, if it's a network. So it's the same thing. We're very powerful beings. We're very powerful individuals. We have amazing beauty, talent, focus, purpose, all of these things. But alone, we're not going to be able to build even that margin, that resilience really that we need together. Without if we're not together. Think about it when you talk about resilience, what really is it? I mean, the way that you define it is the ability to be able to get back up when you get knocked down, essentially.
mm,
Not only how often, but how long it takes, right? Because one thing is, think about it with the difference between getting, for example, here, the cold or the flu. A cold, it might affect, like a simple thing. Maybe you can still kind of work with it, but the flu over here is, where your body aches and your everything is shutting down, right? So maybe even like the impact of what the problem might be, right? Is it going to take you, how long does it take you not only to get over, but also to build back up your immunity? And it's the same thing with resilience, is not only how often, right? I mean, can I come back because what's happening, right? The time and time again, but also the time that it takes. And different problems are going to take time, right? I mean,
mm.
when you get if you look at the what we study with the journey of grieving, because a lot of times in resilience is been activated by grief, the grief of the loss of something. It could have been the loss of a job, the loss of financial part, the loss of a loved one. So that's what we're talking about resilience, not only the ability to be able to take adverse things that happen, but also the amount of time it takes you to restore from that part. So when we're looking at it, when you have people, I mean, for anyone who's gone through a hard time, you see how difficult it is, especially when we talk about isolation. You think, oh, I'm the only one. This has never happened to anybody. Those thoughts are going to make it way harder to get through something than somebody's like, hey, I'm right there with you. Or somebody's like, hey, this is a moment. This doesn't define you. Sometimes we need to be reminded. And that's the power in the network, and that is not only going to help us. I mean, when hard times are going to come, people are not gonna, may not be able to prevent that. I mean, it's just going to happen, but the speed in which you can able to recover and restore will definitely be impacted by the network and the people that you have with you.
So for me, in order to summarize, to capture the essence of what you just said, it is as a leader, in order to be resilient, first I have to think about myself in order to be able to push it or transmit it to others. And it's about getting ready to have a support network, uh, bouncing back, but with capacity. That means like for in a durability
Yes.
extension of time that is in a sustainable way. So in a longer term, am I forgetting something that in resilience that I haven't considered to get ready?
No, I mean, well, think about it. It's the getting ready. I mean, when do you get ready? Not when it's happening, right? I mean, the crisis or the adverse situation, that's gonna bring up how ready you are. So the time to get ready is before that. And a lot of times, well, we don't do it, right? Think about exercise when you build endurance. So think about resilience. It's about building endurance. When you go and you're doing, you're putting in, you're practicing, right? I mean, when you go and work out, is you might be running on a treadmill that's going to the same place. You're building cardiovascular endurance. So when you're
Mm,
doing, when you're building endurance for your muscles, right? So you do different things. One, if it's for the heart, cardiovascular, you're doing muscle endurance, you're doing weight. So you're building endurance specifically for that. So think about that with resilience too as a leader. In resilience, really, you're building that endurance. And when do you do it? Well, you're putting in the practice, right? I mean, how do we know that in times of crisis we're going to be able to communicate well? Well, because you're communicating well and you practice good communication before the crisis, so that when the crisis comes, we know what to do. How do you know how when decisions that have to be made quickly, how are they made? Well, by delegating and working with people on decision making, by training them on decision making through the mission and division daily, so that when those times come and it's like do or die time in a sense, your leaders can step up and do it, right? So that's because it's been built. So that's when we talk about resilience, it's the same thing about endurance. Now think about with endurance, when you are in those hard times, right? I mean, when you have maybe you were preparing cardiovascular so you can run a marathon.
Mm.
So you've been working on that. You actually do the marathon, but what happens after the marathon? Well, we'll talk about restoration time. So your restoration time, right, from running that, from that point, that is also going to be dependent on your resilience. So that's what we're talking about in an organization. After you go through those things, if you had a big loss or if you had even a big win, I mean, opportunities, right? I mean, like these are things that we purposely, hey, we're going to go for it. We're going to go and big. We're going to do this marketing campaign. And it's, we're all in. And, after it, the also the restoration time. How does it take? How do we restore together? And that also is tied with the resilience.
Mm. It is wonderful this analogy with doing sports. But when we talk about sports, we also think about what type of muscles are affected, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
thinking out here. So the type of muscles in order to build this resilience, is it first the mindset, my perception of the world, how do I feel about the world? Is it about my behaviors? Is it about my emotions? If we consider that as muscle, is that or is it something else?
Well, let me tell you, there's a couple of things. So, if we go back a little bit, so as I mentioned, I suffer with a heart disease, and it was where my heart would go super, super fast, which is what we call tachycardia.
Yeah.
And it would suddenly start, not from running, not from, because I went out there and it just didn't come back down. It could have been a sneeze. It could have been I turned the wrong way. It could have been in the middle of the night. So that was very unexpected. And as a kid, that was since the age of 4. So, but it wasn't just the fast heartbeat, right? But it also had arrhythmia. And what does arrhythmia mean? It's when it's out of rhythm.
Mm.
So I could tell you that I could withstand physically a tachycardia that was super fast. I could, maybe kind of breathe through it. But when that arrhythmia came in, it drained me. And the
Mm.
arrhythmia was what when it was out of rhythm. Not only was it the out of rhythm, but also the time that it took me to recover from arrhythmic episodes versus, super fast episodes also varied. Now I am active now. I go and I run, but if it's in my control, I know I'm getting mentally ready to go and take an exercise because I love to dance. I know I'm gonna go to Zumba, and that goal is to get that heart rate up. That's the goal. Like we wanted to go to zone 5. So I'm not scared or dreading it or all this stuff because I know in my mind I've already prepared myself to go through that, right? And knowing that I have a part in that collaboration in a sense with my Zumba teacher, where the goal is to go to the zone 5. I'm all in, I'm putting in all the effort, but I also expect that afterwards it's gonna come down. And I say that the same thing, even with the muscles and with all that. Yes, what does mindset have to do? Let me tell you, it was a lot harder to recover when these things felt like they were happening to me because I couldn't expect. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know how long they would last versus those times that I knew. I may even put more strain in my body where it's not because I was sneezed or I slept or anything, but mentally, because I was also a part of it, I was able to do harder things on focus. And then everything else comes in place. So I will say the same thing goes when we're talking about going in through these hard times and the systems and the mindset that it takes. When we're able to activate with our mind, when we're able to prepare as much as what would be the mindset, the governance in an organization, the leaders in an organization, the systems in an organization. So the muscle system may be equivalent to maybe your cell system. You have the finance system that may be, well, they're basically dealing with the oxygen of the business, which could be very much a respiratory system. So understanding that one system is going to impact the other system. And the better that you have the focus, the attitude, even though we're going to be playing different roles, going into a situation is going to help us as a whole be able to have that recovery time, but also to be able to sustain those times when we have to go fast, because we're going to have to go fast. I mean, there's times we have to go fast. There's nothing wrong with that. We know that it's going to take, time. We just can't live like that. You
Mm.
cannot be in the marathon and the treadmill the entire time. You're gonna pass out. You're not gonna be well. And that's what we're talking about in understanding that is being mindful as a leader. That yes, there's times where we do need to go fast, but there's times where we need to give that recovery and that restoration time.
So it is not enough about being ready to do things for resilience, but we need to have a certain level of self-awareness in order to know
Oh,
what muscle
yes.
to activate. And that's a problem.
Well,
Awareness is a big problem for leaders.
yeah, it is. I mean, and also preparing, right? I mean, you have to be intentional.
Mm,
You have to be intentional in that. I mean, that's why you don't just, when you're getting ready for you start looking, well, even the different sports are going to require different muscle groups to be worked, but they're all going to require mindset. I think
mm,
100% of everything, no matter what, is your mindset. So, and that talks again to the governance. But yes, every system is going to impact. Every solution that you bring to a problem is going to, in essence, create another problem. It could, if it's not integrated correctly. And those are things that, again, you have to be mindful that understanding the system view is that, hey, the solution or even the preparation that I do have, even I've seen it with teams that are agile and they become very effective in what they do. But guess what? Maybe the finance team is not agile. And maybe the sales team is not agile. And the other ones, when they're talking about digital transformation. So what ends up happening?
mm.
Dysfunction. They're not connected. This constant frustration. Well, what I would say, arrhythmia, because you have to understand that although it's a really good thing for your department, it's a really good method. The other systems, your internal customers, who's your customer, is going to be impacted by that solution, that change in process. So, as a leader, understanding that yes, this is my area of responsibility, but I also have to have that systematic view to how it fits overall in a whole. And for an organization, it's not just, oh, what's good for my organization, right? It's we are a part of a community. We're
Mm.
part of a local community. We are part of a global community. There's different things. Understanding that even our system, when we talk about impact, we also have to talk about collective impact. We talk about the impact to the business community. We talk about impact to the government, impact to the health community, impact to education. So there's different things, understanding that one system, even in my organization, how I run it, it's going to impact me, but it also has a collective impact because I'm part of a system. And that's it. I mean, like, we're connected. I mean, you didn't, nobody just builds anything by themselves. You can't even get your own food by yourself. It's going to take somebody
That's true.
so understanding, like, yes, well, for those of you that use DoorDash and Uber, and like, I can do this all myself. No, it's a system. Somebody's running the app, somebody's coming and getting the food, somebody else is cooking. There's all of these other things. So understanding that a decision in one system is going to impact another system. So choose your connections. Work on your connections.
Hannah, very often when I have discussions with human resources people, they have a problem or challenge to define the return on investment when we are discussing about human skills, soft skills.
Mhm.
Resilience is part of, for me, it's not even a soft skill. It's almost like a mental system. That
Yeah, there.
a meta skill if you want, but it is very difficult for them to explain the impact. Does it have a return for an organization? And very often the guys on the top, they are not connected with humans enough to understand what could be the impact of having a resilient type of leadership uh, team. What is your thoughts about it? How can we help this HR person to explain better to his leader about, if we work on the resilience of our leaders, this is how it's going to affect the bottom line today.
Mhm. So have you ever tried to do something when you're overwhelmed?
Oh, every day.
And is it hard? Is it good? Does it feel great?
It is inefficient. Hannah, I'm an ex-burnout person, so I still have some brain freezes from time to time.
And it's exactly that, though. It's exactly what you call the brain freeze. When we're overwhelmed, we get stuck with little things. When we're overwhelmed, our decision making, I can tell you it, physically, again, where there was no oxygen flowing in my heart, my decision making was not there. It was very hard. For those of you that maybe you may not have suffered with a heart disease, but you are in a treadmill or you have to walk up a hill, and one of the ways that we measure that you're okay is that if you start, you can still talk, and try making a hard, critical decision about your life, maybe who you're going to marry or where you're going to live at next year while you're at the top walking up a hill. That's what we're asking our leaders to do. Is it going to be effective? No. Are they going to, the decisions that we're going to make, can they make the wrong decisions? Absolutely. If a decision's made at all. Because what happens when you're like, right, like all of this, I mean, just going up a hill trying to make a decision, you may just avoid it altogether. And you know what? I'm just not gonna do anything about it and see how it goes. So when you're talking about well, a couple of things, I'm a black belt in Six Sigma, and I was fascinated the first time that I was introduced to, there's eight wastes. Every business has eight wastes. We're not gonna go into those, but one of those that caught my attention so much, and it's recognized globally, the waste is the waste of human potential and measuring the waste of human potential. And what is that? What is the waste of the human potential? Well, that is one of the reductions, and it is hard to be able to measure if you don't, first of all, recognize that there's potential, which is that this starts right there, right? As a leader, look, you got great people. You do. And you gotta dig for gold, you know? Is it gonna flake out of your face? No. Nothing happens by accident. You're gonna be intentional. So intentionally you look for the gold. But in the human potential, it's doing that, understanding that any over processing, overproduction, repetitive tasks, all of these things take a toll at the ability to be able to unleash the potential that's inside of your organization. So when you're talking about HR, does the human potential have an ROI problem? Absolutely, it has everything to do with ROI.
Mm,
The reality is that our world is changing quick. Technology has shown us that 2025 it has been a testament to that. I mean, close to the change in the level of feeling that people had back when we had the shutdowns with the pandemic. I mean, we're seeing the disengagement at higher levels than we did before the pandemic. We're seeing the level of trust have has is we're in a trust crisis. And what happens when you have those? Well, people don't feel secure, they don't feel safe.
mm,
When they don't feel secure, they don't feel safe. You're not gonna be making decisions. You're not gonna have the loyalty that you're looking for in your people. You're not gonna have the ownership that you're looking from your employees, from your teammates. You're not gonna have the longevity. So at the most minimum, the cost of losing somebody is going to be 1.5 times their income for the entire year. That's been proven. We've heard this before. 1.5 times. So just multiply whatever you're paying that employee times 1.5. If they walk out the door, that's how much it's going to cost you to replace them. Okay. We're talking about the replacement factor. We're talking about, again, every change is going to have an impact. We're systems, like it or not. I mean, I can't like, well, I don't think I like my muscle system, so I'm not going to use it. No, it's there. Okay. If I'm using it or if I'm not using it, it's there. I don't have to work on my respiratory system, is there. Can it be better? Yes. That's why we work on cardiovascular things, so those systems are there. It's not like, hey, I think I can do without that. No, every organization has these systems. We all do. It's just like a human. It's what makes you an organization. It's what makes you alive. Are they optimal? That's the question. So when you're talking about the turnover rate alone, that's where you're getting those high numbers, 1.5 times. And not just that, but to where over right now, it's been, I believe, over 77% of people, the professionals, are already saying that we are at a burnout rate, and over 50% of the employees feel unseen. So I'm feeling like people don't know who I am, like they don't value me. I'm feeling that I'm giving way more. I don't even, I'm burned out. I mean, I'm on fumes right now. And on top of that, there's not really any intentionality in making sure I'm going to be here with you long time. And how do we know that? Because those growth plans may not be there. Well, we may have task plans, we may have technology rollouts, we may have all of these things, but they're not there. So the cost, what is the cost? The cost of the human potential. How is that seen? In all the innovative things that could have come out of your workplace that are not coming out. The cost of human potential is those solutions that are not being implemented right now, even tested out. Not because every solution is going to work out. We know that. We know every solution is to work out, but we know that every solution is a step to get into progress. For example, with me, I had failed heart surgeries. I had failed open heart. I had failed heart cath. I had failed a lot of different drugs. I lived in the CCU, the was called the cardiac care unit, which is an equivalent to ICU, for a period of 5 years, in and out, in and out, in and out. But what? Eventually, what came? The opportunity for a never been done innovative surgery called a heart ablation. So I became the first child that had this heart ablation. I didn't know the impact of that until 20 years later when I get a call from the hospital wanting to do a documentary on it and wanting to do a news part because 3,000 other children had been saved by this same surgery. And that was the point when I realized the impact. But it wasn't just that, is all the failures, because I had this, I looked at my scar, right? I looked at, man, like that didn't work. I wish that we would have tried with the other one first. And every time I would look at my scar, because, I'm cut up, it was this reminder of this failure saying, like, even just like angry, well, why didn't we that? Because when it happened as a kid, after the open heart, they tested if it worked or not. And immediately by injecting me with adrenaline to make my heart go fast, well, my heart went into arrhythmia, it went into tachycardia, it went into everything. So now I had to recover from all that and recover from open heart surgery and now have this scar. And we're at the same place. There's still no cure, still nothing, and there will be nothing for the next 2 years. So that happens in organizations with solutions. Oh, well, we tried that last time and we ended up worse than when we were before, and all of these things. But I learned honestly that in that failure, that the open heart was not a failure. It was a step to get to the innovative surgery.
Mm.
If they hadn't done this, if I didn't have that scar is a sign of progress, not a sign of failure. Because had they given up on that, the innovative aspect, me and 3,000 other kids, and that was 10 years ago. I mean, now people get ablations all the time because it wasn't even done in adults. So now people get heart ablations. It's one of the ways that people get treated for heart disease. But it wouldn't have opened it up. And that's what we're talking about human potential. Is when we don't have a safe environment. So we're talking about the HR leaders. When your leaders are not engaged, when your people are not engaged, there's not the safe environments. And what happens in safe environments? When it happens when you have that psychological safety, innovation.
Mm.
Innovation is what happens. Surgeries like mine, solutions like mine that yes, things fail, but there are way to process. The engagement comes in is in that I feel safe enough to fail because we know how we treat this in this organization is what we're learning from it. And that's what taught me the importance, one, of, first of all, the commitment of excellence, but processes and systems. Because every time somebody would come into my hospital room, they had, there's a history. There was something that they looked at. So there was like, okay, they're looking at this, they're looking at vital, they're looking at measurements, they're looking at what somebody else wrote before, before them. They're looking at all of this history. And that goes back again. Who's going to care to do that? Well, it's going to be your employees. HR, we need to know that. We need to know what are those metrics. We know what is the knowledge management that's being passed down from person to person, because that in itself helps them when they can call a meeting every time. They're having to make decisions with the information. So the ways that we're seeing is we're seeing avoided decision making altogether, delayed decision making. If they're engaging at all, the conversations for innovation are not happening. The psychological safety and the lack of loyalty from people that are just looking for the next best thing. Well, I'm just here for a little while until, usually it's related to bills. Until I get this bill paid, I'm going to be looking at that. When I get this, then I'm going to get that. So the job is looked at not as something where we can really come together around the mission or the vision, but for the employee's sake, many times, so from what I hear, is this is a point, I'm going to do this until I get X amount of retirement, or until I'm able to pay off this, or until I'm able to pay that. And that's the new, or the habit that is also coming on the people that are engaging in work.
Mm,
It is the responsibility for the organization, for the leaders to make the organization, the culture, to make that work engaging. And that is the biggest thing that I see. HR, definitely, hello, human relations. It has to deal everything with building opportunities for that connection, opportunities for that psychological safety, opportunities for innovation. HR, how are you measuring innovation? Because
mm,
that has to be very much a metric in how you're doing in the evolution of your workplace.
mm. Hannah, you have triggered me because now I got even a little bit like mad thinking about what has happened in the last year. So we know that there was a huge amount of investment during COVID for providing solutions for well-being, for instance, for employees. Uh, 1 year after COVID, basically only 20% of employees were using any of the solution. It was a little bit like the case when a parent who didn't have much wants to give everything possible to the kids, too many choices, and the kids don't give a shit anymore. What I'm saying
Exactly.
I'm saying here is that organization went into from the madness of going left, right, and center with apps that do this yoga for here and there, expensive consultants to give them add complexity to something that needs to be more simple. And the principles that you mentioned, like psychological safety, like the opportunity to fail, like recognition, don't like avoiding feeling lonely. It is so simple. One, you don't need
Yeah.
a consultant to make it happen. You need a change
Oh,
coming from the top, a change of behaviors that in principle, even for people who are religious, they know these principles. It's just that they don't apply them. You need just to help them reframe their beliefs, their set of beliefs, so that you can do it even if you are not a believer. A good person, a person with ethics, can do the job. So it's almost like it has gone from spending everywhere into, oh, it doesn't work, so let's close it, let's forget about it, it's not working, when human beings, the only thing that we want is choice, decision making on our own, a little bit of autonomy, and the possibility to be ourselves, to express ourselves, as you said, that without psychological safety, how can we expect any innovation, right?
yeah. Yeah. No, and that's so and we know what's interesting, Ivan. The solution, for example, for my heart disease, it wasn't about adding more. It wasn't about putting in another tool or another drug or anything. Ablation, literally, it means burning away.
Mhm.
So it meant to, I had, in essence, too much of a good thing. I had too much electrical notes. And what they had to do was burn the parts, all of these extra things that were causing all this confusion to my heart. So there was a clear pathway for energy to flow. And that is my call. That's what I do. Help leaders create pathways because it's not about adding more in the complexity, but it's like in the complexity, there's things that we need to burn away. Because one of the greatest things that you can do as a leader, what you do for organization is create that clarity. You don't
Mm.
need to bring all the energy. The energy is there. Your people are there. The talent is there. The innovation is there. But you do have to provide a pathway that this can flow through everywhere in the organization. And it is the burning away. It is taking all this complex, making it simple. I'm a public speaker. I can tell you, I probably prepare, but not probably. I for sure prepare way more for a 3 minute speech than I do for a 45-minute speech because it's a lot harder to do a 3 minute. Or has anybody asked you to do like a 30-second introduction? I'm like, what? Don't give me, I probably need 10 minutes for that. No, but the amount of work it takes, the clarity, the focus, everything to be able to take something that will be all that will take the space and to make it into something that's going to be effective, precise, and is going to serve the people it's supposed to serve. And that is really what we have to do. You're right. We threw everything at it. We were just throwing spaghetti on the wall. Just throw like here, 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 here. You want to work here? Sure. You want to do this? Sure. You want to do all this stuff? And then we end up with what? Chaos. And then we say, no, forget that. We did too much. We're going to take everything back. Now we're going to go all this way over here. And then what do you end up with? Burnout. Because you either have chaos if you give everybody everything that they want, if there's no systems or processes, or you're going to have burnout if you all you have is systems and processes and no heart. And that's what's been happening.
You have 52 mini shifts in your book. If you had to pick the one that is the most effective for resilience, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Well, for resilience, well, now you're getting so the part of I will say hope. I always got to go back to hope. So hope, again, heart is for hope, empowerment, accountability, results, and trust. And for hope, um, it will be in growing in the value of hope. So basically, what this mini shifts do is think about it like going to the exercise room where you're practicing, right? Hope is not this concept thing that you just hope that you're going to have hope one day. No, you have to work your hope. You have to build the hope. Like where we build resilience, you build resilience. Resilience is an outcome of having hope. Am I going to have high hope? Guess what? I'm going to have high resilience. So is very related to that. It's a not causational, but it's relational. It goes in hand. So one of this is the many shifts is fuel your future with hope. And this and the aligning with the beat, because it's like, well, how do I grow in that? Like, okay, that's a concept. I want to have hope. Okay, yay. What does that mean? More positive? And it's not more positive. I mean, positive actually can be very passive. Hope is very active. What hope does is hope finds a way. Hope is going to look, people with high hope are going to find a way to do something even when they see no way. So it's not just this positive, oh, one day it will work out. No, like I'm going to find a way to make it work out. We're going to do this because this is good work. So, for example, what I do here in the little mini shifts is understanding one is I want to grow in hope. I don't know how to grow in hope. So, this is where I developed the method BEAT, and that is believe, engage, act, and transform. And it's a quick little breath because that's all I could do. Mini shift, why? Because knowing that it's just the smallest of action is going to trample the greatest of intention any day. So there was a lot of things I couldn't do as a kid growing up. I mean, standing up, walking down the hallway, going to school, going to the playground. So I still wanted to do things. I wanted to do great things. So I did the little mini shifts, and it all started with belief. Although I was in the bed and I couldn't move, nothing could stop this.
Mm.
Nothing could stop the belief. The belief was very much in relation to how I viewed everything, to how I felt that day. So part of the first step in the BEAT program to grow in hope is believe. What is your current belief? And I had to check myself. I didn't have like this high hope. I said, well, is this belief working for me? Is this something that it makes me feel good? Is this energizing me? Sometimes we don't know if it's good or not. Just check your energy. check it. Hey, is this, believing this, does it make me want to go do something? It's like, oh no, let me just stay back. What is your belief doing? But the next part about believe is then engage. Engage is like, okay, what do I have next to me? Like I said, I was very limited in the things I had. Did I have somebody I could call? Did I have my parent? Did I have somebody that I knew was going to come in that day? Engage with what you have, not what else you have to get. What do you have right now that can help you in that belief? And then we're talking about the belief of hope, right? So if I need to be more hopeful, well, is there somebody I know? Is there anybody that I know always provides hope? Is there somebody I know that has gone through something hard that, what did they do? So that's engaging, right? That's engaging. That's going besides the belief. Is I'm going to actively engage and look at my resources, but then I'm going to act. Again, the smallest of action is going to trumple the greatest of intention. So what would be an act in growing in that hope? Well, maybe I can text that person. Maybe I can read what maybe this person sent me a note and or made me feel really good. Maybe I can go back to that. Maybe there was something that have I gone through this before? And that was probably engaged. Have I seen this before? Well, what action can I do that could replicate that? What can I what small action can I take towards that belief? But then there's transform. And this is my aligning question. Is that belief going to lead to the transformation? Because then this is where the whole busyness and burnout and everything comes out because we do all this stuff and at the end of the day we just don't know what it is for. So that's what the transform is. There's with every action with this belief, we expect there's a transformation. So is this transformation that I expect aligned to the belief I have? And if it doesn't, I either need to change my belief or I need to change the expectation of my transformation. Because what we really want is alignment. So the heartbeat, so I'm looking at the values, but applying beat to it is why it tells a quick little thing. What do I believe? What do I have? Yeah, engage. What small thing can I do? And the transform. Is this going to give me the result that I'm looking for in this area? So that's applying beat. And that's what I do every day to work on maybe my hope is low or maybe empowerment. I was like, I'm feeling really disempowered and I feel like I have to do everything, for example. That's a thought. So does that thought work for me? Well, no. Is it true? No. I don't have to do everything, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of things other people are doing. So what belief would help me in that? So to start looking at that, and it work. It starts, it might take a little work. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be able to do it right away, but you know what? Maybe today all you can do is believe. That's okay. It's okay. There's no like the things like you have to like do it right this right now. But that's why they're called mini shifts. This is the book because this is what you would do for a whole week. Like you don't have to. This is for my busy. I wrote it exactly for my busy leaders because it's a two-page. And all you can do, you know what, today, like for example, fuel your future with hope, believe, focus on possibilities, not limits. And you know what? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm just gonna focus on possibility, not limits, in what's happening. That's gonna just believe. And you know what? Maybe by Saturday, by tomorrow, maybe I'll just work on engage because right now, um, I'm I'm gonna focus on belief. So then tomorrow I'm gonna focus on engage. And maybe on Saturday or on Sunday, by the time I'm day number 5, I'm ready to do beat. And you know what? Beat felt good. So I'm gonna do beat again. So just a way that you can self-pace and it's just 152, why? 52 weeks in a year. So it's 1 minute shift a year.
I what I love the most about the explanation that you just gave me is that in this story about belief, it's not about believing in something external that is going to do good for you. It's almost like chance is going to help you out on the way. It is about getting accountability. When you say believe, I understood it as, do I believe in my capacity to do something on my own, to go into that direction, to have the energy, the willingness, the I don't know if there is something called thriveness in English, but I'm inventing words now to help me out.
So it was innovation. Innovative. That's
To help
good.
me out to do something. I love the fact that is action oriented, is about behaviors, it's not about just keeping it at the level of intention. It's like hope can be an intention, but below hope, there is a clear action that you have to work on that acts as self-reflection, and it is particular to you. You are not giving the secret sauce of how to be resilient because it works for everybody. No, how it's going to be working for me.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
That's right. And you know what? I'm actually when I put this together, because it's an alignment tool. Beat is an alignment tool. So believe, engage. Those are things that are happening internally, right? I mean, what is my belief? What is my engage? But act and transform is about external, because the action is going to be there's going to be proof that I did something. There's a even if I wrote it in my journal, there's going to be a word on that piece of paper. So act is an external thing, and transform is also about the external. Transform is about the impact that it's going to have outside. So it's the internal, just like the heart has two chambers in, two chambers out.
Yeah.
Believe, engage, two things internal, act and transform for external execution. Internal alignment, external execution. And that is the flow. That's what beat is about.
My last question. If an inspired leader wants to increase the resilience quotient starting tomorrow, what is the one mini shift from your book that they should focus on first? Like easiest to start with?
Well, the easiest, honestly, value. Value your people. That is the number one. And let me say like the easy the you said the easiest or the fastest mini shift?
The
Because
fastest, something that doesn't have any friction I can do tomorrow so that I start with one of the mini shifts.
well, I mean, the focus on possibilities, the one I just gave you right now, for me is the easiest one because that's the one that's going to give you the catalyst, right? When you focus on the possibilities, and maybe it's not the possibilities internally of what you do, but the possibilities of your people. Opening yourself up to the possibilities of the what if, being curious. Because really what this aligning with beat is creating that curiosity. If I'm opening myself, right, the mini shift to fuel your future with hope. And so the mini shift is you gotta add fuel to it. So that's one.
Mm.
If you're on burnout, that means that you are needing some fuel. So how can we do some quick fuel in there? We gotta inject hope. So that will be again my number one. You're injecting hope and then focusing on possibilities, not limits. It's focus on possibilities on what? If you're a leader, let's take a look at your team. And that starts with valuing your team. We're not going to look at possibilities for things that we don't value. We're going to discard them. So I would challenge that. I would challenge, how are you adding value? Are you looking at possibilities? What's the last time you look at a possibility in your team? Because
Mm.
that will tell you the level of hope you have right now in your team. You cannot give what you don't have. You can't expect your team to be highly hopeful and be highly engaged if you yourself are not highly engaged in your team. Remember, it's like, you get out what you put in. The beautiful thing about working with others is then our putting in becomes exponential. And that's really what we're looking as a leader is when we're talking about possibilities, then it's no longer about you. It's no longer about what you can do, but it's the multiplication factor. Remember, it's not just two times two, but it's well, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? It's exponential the power that we see. So possibilities opens you up for that. And the way to look at possibilities, it starts with your hope. So I will go to shift number one.
That's a good one. Hannah, how can people reach you out to talk to you about more about resilience, to see how you can help have impact in culture? Because we are talking about this cellular organism that has interrelations. It's not only about the individual, but something that can expand across organizations. So how can they reach you out, Hannah?
Yeah, well, I love that. Thank you so much, Ivan. Well, you can reach out by going to Heartnomics, HEARTNOMICS.com, and look at me up, Hanna Bauer. And you're absolutely right. Every organization is made out of a heartbeat, right? But it's a combination of heartbeats. And for that, I have hardcore. So the hardcore is the same alignment that I do for individuals, but for the organization. So that's cultivate, optimize, reach, and elevate. And that is something that I'm able to help organizations to then bring the individual alignment to organizational alignment. And I would love to have the opportunity for anybody who's feeling that burnout or is feeling the loss of human potential. I don't even know if I'm losing my human potential. How do I know? Well, I have a free assessment. If you go there on my website for both the individual and for the organization, that I'll be happy for your listeners to take advantage of.
Thank you. I'm going to be putting those two links below this episode. Thank you very much, Hannah. It was so lovely to finally meet you.
Oh, same here. Thank you, Ivan. Thanks for making the space. I love what you're doing.
Thanks. Have a great day.